Hello class 12, welcome to history lecture. We are continuing with our third chapter and today we will do the topic of deindustrialization. So our today's topic is deindustrialization, and first we'll see what is deindustrialization, then we'll see what are the factors that led to deindustrialization and what are the results or impact of deindustrialization. So from the word deindustrialization, you can see that deindustrialization means decline of industries. Decline or ruination, that is destroying of industries. So deindustrialization means decline or ruination of industries. So this phenomena of decline or ruination or destroying of Indian industries started when the East India Company started establishing their factories in India, and especially after the Industrial Revolution in England. So when there was the Industrial Revolution in England, we see there was a tendency among the English servants, English East India Company servants, to destroy or ruin Indian industries because their only motive was the growth of their own industry. So for their own self-interest, we see that this process of deindustrialization was started in India. So deindustrialization means basically in Indian context, it means the ruination or destroying of the Indian cottage industries or the Indian handicraft industries. So there we see that during this time the English East India Company and the servants, the workers of the company are actually leading to the declining or the destroying of Indian industry so that their own industry can flourish, because to gain ultimate profit they are not giving any attention to Indian industries and they want the decline or ruination of Indian industries. So what we see is that this decline or the ruination of Indian industries was not limited to closing of the industries of India or closing of the cottage industries of India, but it had a great impact and effect on the life of the people as well. So we'll see the impact afterward, but for now we should see that deindustrialization basically is the decline or ruination of Indian industry, in simple word if you define it. Next we'll see the causes or the factors that led to the decline of industries or the causes that led to the deindustrialization. So when we do the causes, what are the factors? First and foremost we have to mention about the Industrial Revolution in England. Industrial Revolution in England is the first cause. Because of Industrial Revolution in England, we see that the Indian industries were declining, because due to Industrial Revolution there was fine machine-made goods, and we see that the Indian industries could not continue with this unfair competition, because the machine-made products of England after the Industrial Revolution was fine and cheaper, whereas the Indian handmade goods were coarse and much more expensive. So obviously the people were accepting and buying more of the industrial products. So first is Industrial Revolution, that is after Industrial Revolution Britain started sending their products in India, and they were selling their products in India, and they were trying to capture market in India. These all factors was one major cause for declining of Indian industry. Next is the unfair competition. Indian handicraft good could not compete with the machine-made goods of Britain, so which were finer and cheaper also. Apart from these, we see that another cause that led to decline of industry was the torture or oppression on the weavers. Not only weavers, the handicraftsmen also suffered the oppression. The English East India Company servants which were coming to India, they were oppressing or torturing the weavers and handicraftsmen, and these torture forced them to leave their craft and to go to other professions. So when they are facing oppression and facing torture from the East India Company, they are moving towards land. They are leaving their age-old custom, age-old profession, craft of cottage industry, and they are moving towards other things, other profession. So this was another factor for which Indian industries were declining, because the handicraftsmen were leaving their traditional jobs, and they're trying to go to other job. Also we see the decline of royal household. Royal household means the native rulers, the Indian native princes, the native rulers who were there, these were declining because the British were capturing the Indian states, and they were establishing their own rule. So these royal household were direct patron of the cottage industries. They were giving their money for cottage industries. These darbars were used to be held. The royal household darbars used to be held. So in this darbar, everybody used to wear Indian handicraft goods. So when these royal households are declining, then there is nobody to buy from Indian cottage industry. These people, the royal household of India, they used to give money for the development of Indian industries. But when they are declining and East India Company is establishing their rule, then there is nobody to buy from the Indian industries. So this was another factor. The decline of royal household was another factor that led to the decline of Indian industries, or led to deindustrialization. Over and above, there was high import duty. What we see is that when Indian goods previously were exported there, and in time of import the duty was less. But when the East India Company already established their factories in India, and after the Industrial Revolution, we see that they started imposing a high tax on the Indian goods. The Indian goods which are going to Britain to sell their product, they were charged high import duty. So due to this high import duty, Indian industries, the productive Indian industries suffered huge decline. So this was another cause or another factor for deindustrialization or decline of Indian industries. After this, we will see the impact or the result. Impact or result of the deindustrialization or decline of Indian industry. There we see that first and foremost thing that happened is that India became a supplier of raw material. That is the major change that took place. That in India, which was a producer of raw material, now they became a supplier of raw material, because after the Industrial Revolution in England, from India, they are buying all the raw material and they are producing the goods there in their own country. So India became a supplier of raw material. Then after that, we see that the price of raw material was also fixed by the company. Clear? So raw material price was fixed. The East India Company was fixing the price of the raw material. So India was suffering loss in both ways. One, they have to sell their product to the British, to the East India Company at a very high price, because tax was very high. So when they are selling their finished goods, then they have to pay, they have to sell at a very low price, because the import duty is high. They are suffering loss. They are paying duty, but the goods price is less. When they are buying the raw material, when they are supplying the raw material, then East India Company is paying them less. So both way they were suffering. Say when they are producing a cloth, a dress, the cotton with which the dress is made, that the East India Company is buying at a very cheap rate. So there also India is suffering. They have to sell the raw material at a low price. Then when the finished goods they are selling, the finished good was sold at a very cheap price. So both way India was suffering a decline. And we see that due to deindustrialization, India was transformed into a supplier of raw material. Apart from this, another result or impact of the deindustrialization was that the Indian markets were flooded with British goods of East India Company. Indian markets were flooded with the goods of East India Company because they are buying all the raw material at a very cheap price and they are selling the product in Indian market at a very high price, but their production, the machine made products were quite fine and it was cheaper, so everybody is buying it. So Indian market was flooded with the British product, the products of the English East India Company. Then we see, apart from this, the decline of towns and cities was there. Towns and cities decline. That is a major impact or major result of the deindustrialization, where we see that many important towns like Murshidabad, like Dhaka, like Surat, these important places, especially which were famous for cotton, for clothes, for cotton textile industry. This textile industry areas were suffering major decline, and we see that these towns which once became urban center because of the trade and commerce, they were flourishing and developing into an urban center. Now these centers like Murshidabad, Dhaka, Surat, all these are declining, and we see that as the industries are declining, towns and cities were also declining with them. Apart from these, another important thing is that economy of India suffered, and the workers means the weavers and the handicraftsmen, their life was also transformed, and we see that they were leaving their villages and they were trying to do other work, and the pressure on the land increased, because when they are leaving their industrial work, they're leaving their craft, then they're trying to do something on the land, they're trying to practice agriculture. But so many weavers and so many handicraftsmen are leaving their profession and trying to do agriculture, land fell short. So much land was not available in India, but all are trying to now do agriculture and moving towards the land. So land fell short and the pressure on land increased. So these were basically the impact of the deindustrialization or decline of Indian industry. So from this topic, deindustrialization is a very important topic, and from there what will you do is the causes of the deindustrialization and the impact of deindustrialization. Obviously, whatever comes, you have to give a definition of deindustrialization. That is, deindustrialization means the decline of Indian industry, and it occurred after the Industrial Revolution in England, when England started capturing Indian market. After this explanation, you have to mention the causes and the impact or the result of the deindustrialization. Thank you.